In a forgotten corner of the city, where broken roads met broken dreams, lived a man named Arif. He was not born poor. He was born invisible. Every morning before the sun rose, Arif woke up to the sound of hunger. Not the kind that came from skipping a meal, but the kind that lived permanently in the stomach. His house was a single room with cracked walls, a leaking roof, and a silence that screamed louder than words. While others woke up to alarm clocks, Arif woke up to reality. At the age of 12, he learned something no child should ever learn, that dreams are expensive, and poverty charges interest. His father once had strength, pride, and a job. Now all three were gone. Illness had stolen his body, alcohol had stolen his mind, and poverty had stolen his respect. His mother worked as a cleaner in rich houses, scrubbing floors that reflected lives Arif could never touch. Every day, Arif walked past tall buildings on his way to work. He didn't look up anymore. Not because he didn't want to, but because hope hurt too much. People like him were not expected to succeed. They were expected to survive. At a roadside tea stall, Arif worked for 12 hours a day, washing cups, cleaning tables, and listening to customers talk about profits, businesses, and opportunities. Words he didn't understand, but deeply desired. Sometimes, when no one was watching, he would stare at the businessmen and think, "What do they have that I don't?" The answer always came back the same: nothing, except belief. One night, after another long day, Arif sat alone outside his house. The city lights glowed in the distance, like a different universe. His stomach was empty, but his mind was loud. He whispered to himself, "I will not die like this." That sentence was small, but it carried the weight of a revolution. He didn't know how. He didn't know when. But for the first time in his life, he knew why. And that was enough to begin. This was not the story of luck. This was the story of hunger. The next morning, Arif woke up with the same hunger, the same broken ceiling, and the same world that didn't care about his promise from last night. Nothing had changed. Except him. He walked to the tea stall as usual, but today his eyes were different. He wasn't just washing cups anymore, he was observing. The customers talked about investments, risks, losses, and wins. Arif didn't understand the language, but he understood the emotion behind it. Fear. Confidence. Power. At night, after work, instead of sleeping, he started asking questions. Why do rich people talk differently? Why do they take risks while we beg for safety? Why does hard work keep people poor, but smart work make them rich? No one answered. Because no one around him had answers. One evening, Arif saw something that shook him. A boy his age, clean clothes, phone in hand, was shouting at the tea stall owner for slow service. Arif stood there, holding a tray of cups, invisible again. The boy laughed. Arif swallowed his anger. That night, his father collapsed. The hospital smelled like defeat. The doctor spoke softly, but the words were sharp. Treatment is possible, if you can afford it. Afford. A word that decided who lived and who waited. Arif stood outside the hospital, hands shaking, staring at the bill. His mother cried silently. For the first time, Arif felt hatred, not for people, not for fate, but for poverty itself. Poverty didn't just take money. It took choices. The next day, Arif quit school. Not because he didn't love education, but because hunger doesn't respect dreams. He worked longer hours. He carried heavier loads. He smiled when insulted. But every night, he read old newspapers, broken books, anything he could find. Words became his escape. One day, at the tea stall, an old man noticed him reading. "Why do you read so much?" the man asked. Arif replied, without looking up. "Because this life is not enough for me." The old man smiled. That smile would change everything.